Let's talk about it. Talk about it. You can be greater.
Yeah, have you been thinking how you been feeling? Have you been searching? Have you decided that you had enough? 'Cause you can be greater. Be greater.
Welcome. My name is Kahama, and this is the Be Greater moment. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have one of the most interesting men in, I say, in American culture. He's been called the criminal mastermind, created the mass distribution of cocaine in Los Angeles. He was tagged kingpin in the 1980s, but now he's a published author, businessman, motivational speaker, a cultural legend. I have with me today, ladies and gentlemen, the real Rick Ross, or better known as Freeway Ricky Ross.
What's up? What's
going on, brother? Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, man. How you feeling today?
Wonderful. Life is good. I know it's a lot going on right now with the coronavirus. Killing over 204,000 people.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Being dead and over 1 million in the world. So it's kind of a trying time, but for this situation, I must say I'm doing well for myself.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. Again, I got to thank you for being here. And, your story is one that is linked to so many different elements in American history, especially going into, the late 70s, early 80s.
Yes.
But I'm gonna throw a year out there for you. I believe you were 8 years old in 1968.
Yeah.
There was something else that took place in 1968. That was the death of Bumpy Johnson. Were you familiar with Bumpy?
No.
In 1968?
No.
It's interesting how one's life evolves, and there's like those parallels between you and Bumpy Johnson. Him passing away in 1968 and you being an 8-year-old. What was life for you in, the 60s, late 60s, when you were a kid? What was going on?
I felt life was good. It's something about human beings where they adapt to their environment, so whatever environment we're in, our bodies, our minds, our thoughts start to adapt to those situations. And, I was living in South Central LA, and I loved it. I thought it was the greatest place on earth. So, I had no complaints about my life in 68.
Yeah, I mean, children are resilient, right? I mean, we know what we know at that time, and we don't really look past that. As a kid, you playing outside, you got your friends, all that.
You got a bicycle, some skates.
Yeah,
the world is yours.
doing your thing, man.
And back then it was safer, it was safer for kids where you really didn't have to worry about people kidnapping. We really didn't hear about kids getting kidnapped.
Yeah.
And all the things that we have going on right now, with the child molestation rates being so high, and, people just doing all the things that they do to kids now, man.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, right? Speaking of that, like if you're a child nowadays and you're dealing with all of that, you got social media, you got the fear of these pedophiles, and when I was growing up, we always said beware of Chester molester, that van driving by, right?
Yeah.
What for you, being that kid growing up, what was your most impactful memory from those early years that sticks with you today?
I saw my uncle get killed.
Yeah, talk on it.
my mom, we stayed with my uncle when we moved out to LA, and my uncle used to get drunk, and when he got drunk, he would beat his wife. And one day, me and my mom came in, and he was on one of those drunken raves, and this time not only was he beating her, but he was stabbing her.
Oh man!
And my mom got in the middle of it, and she eventually shot my uncle, and I was standing right on the side of her when she did it. You know, I could hear him gasping for air. It was just, just an incident that no kid should really have to go through.
Not at all. Not at all. How did that traumatic event in those moments of, before it taking place, you're hearing the chaos. I'm assuming you're seeing, your uncle and your mom going back and forth.
The blood, from where my uncle stabbing,
yeah,
my auntie.
Just all of that. You're processing all this information, and then boom, gun goes off. You're standing there with your mom. That's a defining moment in anybody's life. I don't care if you're 45 or if you're 5. That's a defining moment. What took place inside of you from that moment moving forward?
I don't really remember. I know they took my mom to jail. Mm-hmm. So that, now here I am. We had just moved to LA too. We're in a new city.
Yeah.
I don't really know anybody. I know people, but I don't really know them.
Yeah.
We moved out here from Texas, so I heard you my family, but I ain't never been around you. So
yeah.
it was. I could imagine that it was traumatic, for a young person to have to go through those type of situations at such a young age.
Do you think that experiencing that, was that the moment you realized the power of your mind, the power of your ability to adapt, overcome, and make the shifts that you needed to make?
No, I didn't know. I had never thought about those type of things at that age,
Yeah.
At that time, my thing was, riding my bike, skating,
Yeah.
And being around my mom. Those were my main objectives in life,
Absolutely.
And it seemed like nothing else really mattered.
Right.
So that's where I believe that my mind was at that time.
Yeah. So now you're a little older, we're past, those series of events. You're in school. I can't help but see the parallels of gang activity developing in Los Angeles in the 70s, like the mid 70s, early 70s. Was there any influence, between the development of the Crips, the Bloods, you being in South Central at the time that's starting to develop? Was there anything that crossed your path when you were young?
Oh yeah, well I remember the first time I saw the Crips.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the 6th grade, elementary school, and there was a commotion outside, and all the kids came to the window, and I went to the window at the same time. And when we looked out the window, we see these guys, and it's like hundreds, like lined up outside of our school. I didn't really understand it at the time, but I later found out that they were called the Crips.
Okay.
And that was my first time noticing that there were gangs.
Wow. So there's hundreds, I'm assuming there's hundreds of kids, teenagers.
Yeah, they probably was teenagers. Because, when you think about it, you're like, for real, I'm like, what are they doing at a elementary school?
Yeah.
What are you guys doing hanging out around the elementary school?
Yeah.
But they were. So they must have been maybe junior high kids, come back to the elementary school to show their force.
Were they recruiting? I
don't know. I wasn't recruited.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they wasn't doing anything. They're just hanging out.
Just hanging out.
Yeah, just
at the elementary school.
At the elementary school.
That's wild, man. That's wild. So you grown, and we know like Tukey Williams, Was it Raymond Washington?
Tookie Raymond.
And they all from that area that you grew up.
They all from my area.
Yeah. So were they older than you at that time?
Yeah, I think they were a few years older than I was.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 years or something like that. I'm not sure, but they were a little older than I was.
Man, that's a lot of talent. I mean, and I use talent because if you grew up in any other area with any other options, there's no telling. Especially like Tookie Williams. I mean, he was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You know, that's mental fortitude to be able to make such a shift and come to terms with what you created, similar to your situation. You know what I mean? He created, or was one of the men responsible for creating one of the most influential street gangs in the world. I mean, Crips are everywhere.
Yeah,
you know,
all over the world.
All over the world. So, I mean, you know, we talked about, you know, you being a kid and you know, you focused on riding your bike, being with your moms, you know, roller skating, all of the innocence of youth. 6th grade, first introduction of these street gangs out here. You're getting a little older, so reality of, you know, where you're living, different things like that is kind of setting in. Most kids, they use sports as an escape. You know what I mean? Like, whether they're playing football, I understand you played football as well.
Baseball, basketball.
All of that. But there's one special sport, I think, that stood out for me, you know, reading about your story, seeing, you know, some documentaries on your story. Talk to me about the influence of Arthur Ashe, you know, for you as a young man, and how that influenced you playing tennis, and your time playing tennis during those formidable years.
Well, you know, I wanted to be a Crip.
Okay.
My plan was to become a Crip. But, you know, my mom was really strict. And when you're 12 years old, 11 years old, you ain't going to let her know that you want to be a Crip.
Right. She went, what's that?
So I never actually became a Crip because I started playing tennis around 12.
Okay.
And that kind of took me away from the life that everybody else in South Central LA was living. You know, I started to see some different things and go some different places, and I was drawn to those instead of sticking to the hood like everybody else was.
Right.
So tennis kind of maybe saved my life. You know, when they executed Tookie, a part of me felt executed as well, because I had a life sentence without the possibility of parole when they executed him. And I know that it was a time that if he would have came to me and told me to come on and ride with him, I would have gladly went. And so when you look back at that, you're like, wow, I dodged a bullet.
Literally and figuratively, right?
Yeah.
Man, that's powerful. And it's amazing how, you know, through sports you can live an entirely different life. You know, and you being out there playing tennis, I mean, and choosing tennis over football, choosing tennis over basketball. Again, you know, from the outside looking in, it kind of reveals to me just the thought process, the thinking.
Yeah, it was absolutely critical thinking, because I was a little fella, so the chances of me making it in football at that time was slim, because the coaches like big guys.
Yeah.
And tennis wasn't the same. You know, the guys that was playing tennis were still pretty small.
Yeah.
I think at that time most of the guys were probably like 5'9", you know, were littler guys. So it made perfect sense for me to switch to tennis, you know, and with tennis I could have got a scholarship to go to college. So it made much better sense. There was no way I was going to get a scholarship in football.
Yeah.
And listen, I probably would have had some training. You know, if somebody would have took me up under their belt, who would have known how to get into the league, then maybe, yeah. But not having that instructions, then I went with what I saw as the most feasible for myself.
Man, so that's a perfect, road into you went from tennis, and then all of a sudden, man, you find yourself at, Hustle University. What was your introduction into the life of hustling? You're playing tennis and you have your mind fixed on, possibly getting a college scholarship. This was your gateway out of the hood and to make something better for you, for your mom. So what was the event that introduced you into Hustle University?
Well, it was more than one event. It just didn't happen overnight. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite books, Napoleon Hill, talks about how a person can be wove into a situation that they don't really want to be into, and that's kind of what happened with me. The first time that I was introduced to cocaine was through a movie called Superfly. And in this movie, I saw this black guy who stood down the police. Yeah. He told him, say, you can do my dirty laundry if you want to. That ain't gonna save you.
Right.
And when I saw that, I've been made to be, I'd had the police make me sit on the ground, lay on my stomach. Yeah. The police have done things to me that would make most people be like, I hate the police.
Right. Right.
Even though I didn't necessarily hate the police, but I didn't care for them.
Right.
And when I saw him stare him down,
that power, that strength,
and then almost, I can't say threaten, because threaten is not the correct word, because when I heard him say what he said, I took it as a fact.
Right.
He said that I hired some killers, that if you touch one hair on my head, not only will you die, but your wife gonna die. Your little big butt daughter, she gonna die. I know what school she go to.
Yeah.
So when I saw him do this to the cops, to the chief of police, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Now I fixed in my mind that his power came from cocaine.
Interesting. That again, your mind, how you're mapping out these different scenarios and these different situations, and you're looking for to guide you in your authority, in your power. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's the mind of, that's genius thinking to me. So you could say Superfly introduced you to the game.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
How did you learn the game?
Well, that came years later.
Okay.
And at that time, I didn't really know about the subconscious mind. I didn't know none of that stuff till after I went to prison, and I started reading books about how the subconscious mind works. But what I found out is that literally I had planted in my mind that I wanted to be a cocaine dealer. And one day I got a call from one of my friends, and he was like, man, come by, I want to show you something. And I go by his house, and he lay out some lines of cocaine on the table. And that was it.
Yeah.
I was in the business.
Wow. It's interesting you talk about the subconscious mind. There's something that I it's one of the universal laws, the art of manifestation. You have The Secret, all these different things. Napoleon Hill has written about it. I call it the power of the cookie. You know what I mean? Like, you go to the grocery store, you know that you can go get a pack of cookies, right? You might just get a 99-cent one, or you might want some fancy chocolate chip cookies, whatever, you know what I mean? But you know in your mind that if you desire those cookies, you can go get them. So the way that that plays on that subconscious mind, you saw Superfly and you associated cocaine with his power, that resonated inside of you. So you started manifesting that walk through that power of the cookie. For you, it was the power of cocaine, you know what I mean? And you didn't know you were gonna walk into this room with this cat and it was gonna be cocaine lined out for you. But that was this, you know, you had started your journey in that movie theater.
Right.
You know
Absolutely. I mean? Totally. And that probably brought my guy to me who got the cocaine. Because we can bring situations to ourselves. I believe that our minds are like magnets. Mm-hmm. And when you put energy out into the universe, your mind brings back with it the things that you're looking for.
Yeah. So what were you looking for after seeing that cocaine? What hit your mind? What was that what did those next steps look like?
You mean after he showed me cocaine for the first time?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't believe what he was telling me. You know, I didn't believe that something the size of a match head, for people who saw matches, I know the youngsters, they never saw a match before, but they used to have this thing was really, really tiny, and it was a match that you used to light, people used to light their cigarettes with and whatever else they was firing up before they had the big lighters.
Yeah. That's how they burning them fingers up.
And when he showed it to me, he told me it was worth $50. And I just couldn't believe it. No way this was worth $50. And what went through my mind is that if he's telling the truth, I'm going to be rich.
Wow. How old were you?
19.
Man, so we're what, 78, 79?
Yeah, 78, 79.
Wow. So now you see how you're going to get rich, how you're going to make your money. What was the process of you building out your business? At this time, it
wasn't a business at that time. It was just I was building a 66 Chevy lowrider. I wanted some wheels for it. I wanted some Zeniths. Zeniths cost like $3,300, I think, $3,500, something like that. Mm-hmm. So I was gonna make enough money to buy the wheels, and I was gonna paint my car.
Okay.
And that's what I wanted to get out of the cocaine business. And I didn't understand the subconscious mind. I wasn't thinking about. I saw the movie Superfly, over and over again.
Yeah.
And that I loved Superfly, that I love Ron O'Neal.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
What I was thinking about then was, man, this would be a way for me to make enough money to get the wheels and paint on my car.
Wow. So the desire to fix up your whip, your car, get that nice paint job, get those shoes on your car, led to something so much greater. And so much bigger than what I think you were thinking about at the time, right? So you're going through Hustle University, full-time student, and you're introduced to Professor, Julio, how do you say his last name? Zavella?
Danilo Blandon.
Well, he's later.
Yeah. The first one that turned me on was Michael McLaurin.
Michael McLaurin, okay.
He was the first one.
Okay.
He was a friend of mine that went to Fresno State playing football. The next person that I got hooked up was Mr. Fisher.
Okay.
Mr. Fisher was a teacher at Bennett Skill Center, and me and him were tight. So during the journey of trying to make enough money to get these tires for my car, I learned the business. I started to meet people who started to teach me. But one of the best lessons that I was taught was really from my friends who were getting high. And what they kept telling me was, don't get high.
Don't do this.
Don't get high. Whatever you do, don't get high. You're going to get rich, Rick. Don't get high.
Did you try it?
I tried it before.
What was that experience like?
The high was crazy, and it was something that I liked so much that I knew that I couldn't do it.
Because it just derailed everything
that I was for. And you know what I told myself is that I came into that business to make some money, not to be getting high.
Well, they say some of the best lessons is learning from the failures of others, right? And not repeating them.
Yeah.
I think I heard you say that you were studying or watching the moves of the guys in the neighborhood, the ones that had money, how they were doing things and what was helping them succeed. All you did is you mimicked that.
Absolutely. I mean, that's all I did in the drug business, is I kept taking a bit. I mean, it's the same lessons I did in tennis. When I started playing tennis, my mom, we were on welfare. So my mom wasn't going to pay for tennis lessons.
Okay.
No way. She's paying for no tennis lessons for me. So what I would do is I would go and watch other people get taught, and then I would learn from watching the coach teach them. And when I would play them, I would also copy their moves of what they were doing. And that's pretty much how I learned how to play tennis. So when I started selling drugs, I took the same thing. I took the good parts out. When I first started taking my first paid lessons, and the coach told me, he said, "Man," and Larry was my best friend in high school. One of my best friends. At different times, I had different best friends because he graduated. He was a year older than I was, and the coach said, "Man, you've been copying Larry so good that you're doing all the things that he do wrong."
Wow.
And I learned a lesson from that day that you're supposed to copy the good things and not the bad ones. So when I started selling drugs, I looked for things that I felt would uplift my game and not the ones that would bring my game down.
So your game is up. You're hustling, you're making tons of money, you're moving a lot of product. And you mentioned his name, Blandone. How did that introduction come about?
Well, I was already working with a couple of his cronies.
Okay.
And one of them got shot. The one that had the strength and was the muscle and the brains, he got shot by his wife in the back. He was paralyzed. And I started working with his assistant or his crony. And this guy, he liked the money, but he didn't like the work. So what he did is he came to me one day and said, "Hey, because they spoke broken English too. They weren't very versed in the English language." And he said, "How would you like to meet the big man?" And I said, "I would love that." And he said, "Well, when you meet him, you're going to get a discount." And I said, "I would love it even more." And he asked me if I would give him $100,000 for the introduction.
Right, for the founder's fee.
And we negotiated it down to 60. And I gave him 60, and the guy, Danilo, gave him $60,000 for the introduction. So
he made 120.
Yeah, just for the introduction. But he made more money than that by actually doing the work. But he just didn't want to do the work no more. He was terrified, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot that comes with it, right? And I think that's what I found the most interesting. As I did my studying and, I watched the documentary and I watch you speak and I watch you talk about your story. Most people who especially associate crack with the 1980s, South Central, crack anywhere in the country in 1980, they associated with a great deal of violence. What I took from watching, speaking with you is that you did your best to keep as much peace around you and avoid having to do anything violent. How did you negotiate that?
Well, when I started in the business, me and my partner, we started with $125 a piece. And what I told him is that I would never hurt anybody over money. And I made that commitment with myself, and I stuck with it, you know. And what that meant is that if I gave somebody something and they didn't pay me, that was on me. And that's pretty much how we ran our business. We were well armed, but our arms was for self-defense, not for being the aggressor.
I think that shows a great deal of wisdom. Is you're protecting yourself, but you're also protecting your business. The violence that's what brings in
the homicide.
Yeah.
You know, when homicide comes in, they want to know everything. They want to know why he got killed, what was he doing when he got killed, who was he with, you know, where's he getting it from, you know, because maybe the guy who was giving him the drugs might have been the guy who killed him, you know, until they figure out, you know, what took place. So I tried to stay away from violence as much as I can. I think violence is, I don't know, it's not something that we need. One of the things I say after I left prison, I was saying that I would rather save a life than take a life, you know, because there's more money in saving lives than taking lives, you know. A rich guy would give everything that he's earned throughout his life for 5 more minutes of life.
They do it all the time, don't they?
So if you can help somebody to live longer, better, healthier, you're gonna make all the money you want.
Wow. So you've met the big man. Your business has gone from making a whole lot of money to making a tremendous amount of money. Did you know during that time all of the stuff that was taking place behind the scenes with Blandon, and how, you know, you were essentially able to get, I mean, I think you were moving metric tons of product, right?
Yeah, we moved quite a bit.
You know, did you know everything that was associated with the product?
No, I didn't care either. You know, I'm a young guy from South Central, never read a book, never read the newspaper.
Yeah.
Don't pay attention to politics, don't watch the news.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of naive to the world. You know, now I know what's going on in South Central, you know.
Yeah.
I know the things that was important to me, you know, who got the cleanest lowrider, you know, who got the nicest chick.
Yeah.
You know, those are the things that was important to me.
Yeah.
How much do an ounce of cocaine cost? How much do a pound? How much do a kilo? You know, those things were important to me, and those are the things that I kept up with. But as far as what was going on in Nicaragua, what was going on in the White House, to me, those things were like far-fetched. You know, it wasn't something that even interested me. You know, so somebody could have brought it right to me, but if it don't interest you, you're not gonna get it.
You're not gonna see it or get it. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's I know growing up in Baltimore, you know, I can remember a lot of kids didn't even know that Maryland was the state that we lived in. You know, somebody say, "Where you from?" He's like, "Yeah, we're from Baltimore. We're from Bmore." You know, what state is that? It's Baltimore. Like, no, you're in Maryland. So that your focus was South Central and you making money from your product in South Central, but eventually you expanded across the country.
Well, the product brings, you know, it's the thing about cocaine, it travels. You know, I may sell somebody an ounce, and then they take that ounce and sell somebody a half ounce, and then the half ounce guy take it and he sells somebody an eighth and a quarter, and then they take that and break it down and sell some 50s, and next thing you know, the cocaine is on an airplane, it's going to Detroit, it's going to Texas, and it's literally finding its way around the country. And what happens is once it goes there, then those people who got it follow it back. They try to find out where that resource was from. so that they can go directly to
You're
the
trying
source.
to find a plug.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like how I get to the plug. I mean, and,
Exactly.
And so Blandon was your plug, and essentially you're the plug to the rest of
Crips and the Bloods in South Central, really. Most of my clientele were black, you know, black gang members. And that's why when I got arrested, the government really tried to put gangbanging in my jacket. But I had never banged, so it was hard. They couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But I was affiliated. And so when you're affiliated, they're going to try to tie you into it that you're affiliated to.
Yeah. So that affiliation helped you expand your business?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, what I did is I started to look for guys like myself. You know, guys who maybe play sports and just wasn't good enough to make it, or didn't have the resources or the educational background to do it, and I would teach them the business.
And then they helped you grow it. So essentially you kind of franchise yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow.
Same thing I'm doing with the marijuana right now.
Yeah. We're definitely going to talk about that a little in a few minutes. So you get arrested the first time, right?
Yes.
What year was that?
89.
89. And you did, I think you did 5 years.
5.5. I went to Cincinnati, and then I had to go to Texas. So I did 2 bids.
So each city or each state, they had a warrant for
my arrest. I had more warrants than that, but some of the states was like, he's gonna be in jail. We're not gonna waste the resources. But Texas, the prosecutor, he had been on the news so much, talking so much trash that he could not see he couldn't see himself not bringing me to town.
Right,
to
he
show
committed
people,
himself.
Yeah, he had committed himself. So, and I was innocent on that case too. That wasn't even my case.
Wow.
What had happened is some of my cousins, who I did start in the business, had got big as well.
Wow.
But we had kind of like separated ourselves. I don't know what happened. Something happened where I no longer wanted to serve them anymore.
So you stopped being their source.
Their source.
Yeah.
So when they get arrested, they got a new source.
Oh.
But the cops know that they're my first cousins, so they throw me on the indictment anyway.
And you're the bigger name. It goes back to...
Yeah, it goes back to that. And even when we were going to court, the prosecutor said, Rick probably will beat this case. But if he don't, he's looking at 45 years. So, I took a deal on the case, but I was innocent on that case. Wasn't all the things that they had them charged with, I had nothing to do with. My stuff was years before, when they were a lot smaller than they were when they got arrested.
Right. I mean, they pressured you with them numbers, them years.
Oh, absolutely. It didn't make sense. Plus, I was already gonna be in jail.
So you might as well knock 2 birds with one stone. Word up. So you're let out after doing 5.5, and then an old buddy of yours reaches back out to you.
They set me up like a rat, man. It was perfect entrapment almost, but when you're going to trial, you got an all white jury.
Right.
The lawyers are white, the judge is white, the court reporters are all white, all the agents are white.
And they consider Blandon white.
He did.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he considered himself white.
Yeah.
So when you up against that, it's hard to prove entrapment when you are going to have to go to court and say, I made $3 million in one day selling drugs. Because in order to invoke the entrapment, you have to testify almost. Because you have to show your predisposition.
Right.
You have to show your state of mind prior to the government agent coming up dingling the carrot in front of you.
Right. So you got to incriminate yourself in order to alleviate yourself of the crimes that
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, so leading up to being reintroduced, I'm assuming that you just did, you didn't get out, and then he pops up in your life. Did he reach out to you? Had he had
he reached
contact?
out. No, he reached out to me. He contacted me.
So what
the day
was,
I got home.
So what, I mean, how did that all play out? I mean,
Well, one of my homegirls called me, and she was like, "Your guy wanted to talk to you. He's on the other line," and he was on the phone with her, when she was telling me this, and I said, "Oh, put him through." Like, I ain't got nothing to hide. I ain't tell on him. We good.
With that right there, let's kind of lay out how much product Blandon took your business from here to what Apple is today. Like, how much product were you moving based off of numbers before Blandon and then during Blandon?
It's hard to say before him. We was probably buying like 15 pounds. At that time, we were still buying pounds of cocaine, not kilos.
And a pound is smaller than a kilo, right?
Yeah, a pound. It's 2 pounds and a quarter in a kilo.
Okay.
So we were buying probably like 16 pounds, but we should have been buying kilos, but nobody told us.
Right.
They were working us with the pound, and then they keep the quarter pound, and then they have another pound when you get ready for another one.
Right.
And so that was part of the work. But once we got with Danilo, the price went down cheaper, and we were able to expand even further. And we went from there, and by the time I was ready to quit, we had did like every day, like 100 kilos every day. Some days 200 kilos, maybe 220, 230 some days. So wow. it grew pretty expeditiously. But it didn't happen overnight. I sold drugs for like 8-9 years. So it was this constant save, work, reinvest, compound interest. I learned later on it's called compound interest.
Yeah.
Where you compounding your. What I found out early on is that I could take my money and go buy drugs, and as soon as those drugs got back to South Central, I could make $500 profit on maybe $2,000.
Wow.
So for me, that was a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, essentially you went from a 50 bag of coke to being, they say that you made over $1 billion. So you went from 50.
Maybe more than that. I may have made more money than that. I think we did that in, not profit, but money that went through our hands.
Right.
We did that in 2 years.
Wow.
Without a doubt. We did that in 2 years.
Wow. So, that's phenomenal. From an introduction to one person, it skyrocketed your gross sales.
What I did is I would trick the suppliers into believing that I was bigger than I was.
Huh.
And what I would do is, say for instance, I do a deal for $3 million.
Okay.
My profit on that $3 million is going to be about $600,000. The next time they see me, I'm gonna have $3.6 million. So now I'm spending an extra $600,000
to get more product.
So in their minds, he's growing.
Right.
He's constantly growing. Every day he grows.
Right.
And that will make them, they don't want to lose you.
Makes you indispensable.
Yeah, like what I would do is I would play with them. I would put $3 million on the middle of my floor, like a living room. I'd put all the money, stack it up like a coffee table in the middle of the floor, and I would just call them all over. Because what happened is once I met Danilo, then I started to meet his friends. And his friends would solicit my business. They would come back and say, "Hey man, he charging you too much.
They'll give you a better deal.
He messing over you. He ain't treating you right."
Yeah.
And what I would do is I would buy from them with my spare money.
Wow.
And eventually they became my friends as well. And then I could go to Danilo and I would say, hey, your friend came by the other day and he told me how much you charging me and that you're charging me too much.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to go with him now.
And that's how he drops his prices.
And so he would drop his price. So I made them fight. When I first bought my first kilo, I paid about $45,000, and the last kilo I bought, I think I bought for $9.5.
Wow, that's a lot of profit margin in between that 9 and that 45.
And I did that on purpose. I wanted to run the price down because and when you deal, let's take out the addiction part of it. Try to forget that it's an addictive drug and that it's poison and nobody should be using it.
Right.
Because I wasn't dealing with it from those perspective.
Right.
What I was dealing with was that if I make the price cheaper for all of my friends, then just like I had conquered a market, then they can go out and conquer markets as well. And those were my goals, was to get the price down so that my friends could also conquer markets.
So they could open up markets and profit from those new markets being open.
Absolutely.
Man, I mean, again, I have to go back to the thinking. The name of the show is the Be Greater Moment. And, just as we've been having this conversation, having this dialogue, you're really revealing the greatness in your thought process. Even when you said, like, take out the addiction aspect, take out the fact that no one should be doing it, and that's not where your mind was. You're looking at it solely from a capitalistic standpoint.
Absolutely.
Solely as a product. This is a product. There's a demand for this product. I'm able to get the supply and meet the demand.
Absolutely.
It highlights a lot of how you've been able to navigate all of that. And it also, they played on that thinking, right? When you were reintroduced to Blandone.
Oh, absolutely. They knew my psychology. But let's look at this here.
Yeah.
One of the problems with Black Americans is they have no product.
Yeah.
We don't manufacture anything.
Nothing. We're consumers.
We're totally consumers.
Yeah.
Even with the richest of us.
Yeah.
They don't take their money and build plants, with Michael Jordan. He hasn't taken his money and said, well, we're going to build a plant in South Central where now we can make products for ourselves or for each other. And that never happened. That's why so many young Black men turn to drugs, because now they have an actual product that is not based on your skin color, what your uncle's name was, because usually the people with the product gives it to their friends and their family.
Right.
They don't share it equally with anybody that is game to play.
Yeah.
In cocaine, the drug dealers, they don't care who you are. They just want to move product.
Right. They just want to move that product. And I think that you said something extremely, extremely powerful. And a lot of people, I say this, you need your scuba certification to swim in those waters. When you look at the entirety of the Black community, it's a trillion plus consumer market.
Somebody said $3 trillion.
$3 trillion.
I had Tony Muhammad on a Zoom call, and he said that it's like $3 trillion.
$3 trillion.
Right now.
So you look at all of the outside demographics that play a role in just marketing to one of the smallest demographics in the United States controls markets around the world. And a lot of us coming out of the inner city, we make our way through pushing, whatever. In my city is heroin. You know what I mean? We had when I was a kid, the name that was going around in the streets, and I think the reason The Wire was made is Peanut King. He ran.
I know Peanut.
and then when I lived in D.C., Ray for Edmond.
I knew Ray too.
Yeah, I used to go to barbecues when I was a shorty at him and his mom's crib. These guys were the ones that we looked up to because they were getting the money, they had the girls, and they had power. they had, police in their pockets. They had politicians in their pockets. They were able to move, and we essentially saw them as untouchable. So I think if we, like you said, if we as a community created something that promoted our entire community outside of something that's destructive, and we're essentially just entertainers and athletes as a whole, and that's still, just making everybody else happy. If we're singing, dancing, and playing ball, whatever kind of ball it is, it keeps everybody else happy. But we're not bringing those resources, those financial resources back.
We're not sharing it with our community.
Building factories.
It's only 10 of you all that got some money, and everybody else is starving, but you think you good because you living good, but your mama is still living in the hood. She got rats and roaches running around. Your cousins is homeless.
Yeah.
And to me, that you're only as strong as your weakest link. So they tied to you. That's how you living too.
Yeah, that's the same.
They only allow you to be in the house a little while.
Yeah, it's true. You only have that as long as they allow you to have it, right? Yeah. And I think that kind of ties it back to the Blandone situation. Him reconnecting with you after 5 years. Why did they choose you to go after? They used him to essentially, like you said, entrap you, get you.
Well, it made sense to me. I had made a few moves while I was in prison. I figured out the music business.
Okay.
I had bought an old theater that I was going to build and make it into a youth center, where I had some entertaining connections that I didn't ever even really use them. When you have the kind of power that I had opportunities to. One of my friends, he was Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson's personal bodyguard.
Okay.
Also, the guy that they call the Godfather, who they just did the documentary on. Mm-hmm. He was their personal bodyguard. This is one of my good friends. We played high school tennis together. We were like brothers.
Okay.
We shared pizza together. We were tight.
Yeah.
We rode in the car together. We caught the bus together. It's my boy.
Yeah. That's your ace.
He's their personal bodyguard.
Wow.
He called me on the phone and he says, "Hey, Quincy and Michael want you to come to the studio." And at this time, I'm smoking big weed too.
All right.
So I'm sitting in my living room and I'm like puffing on a joint with my fellas, and I'm like, "Man, tell them to come over here to South Central." They were in the studio doing Thriller.
Okay. So this is 84?
I don't remember the year, but I knew what song they were doing because I knew what came out of the studio right during the time that it happened. So I had the opportunity to make these connections, but my mind was focused on this right here. This is all I was focused on. DJ Pooh had took me to a house when he was about 17 years old.
Wow.
And when I go and meet Dr. Dre, when I get out of prison, Dre said he was at that apartment.
Wow.
And this is before NWA.
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't even,
I knew Otis Smith.
Wow.
From playing tennis. Otis Smith is the guy who found Anita Baker.
Yeah.
I knew Dick Griffey. I had met Berry Gordy one time for a second. So these opportunities came because of the drug business.
Because of that cocaine. It's that entertaining.
Because I had that money.
Yeah.
See, I knew why Reggie wanted me to go. Now I know why he wanted me to go up and meet with Quincy and Michael.
Right.
Because he knew that I had cash money to invest, and I was investing in different things, and he was trying to help me put my money in a place that was going to be secure.
Right.
And I didn't see that at the time.
Right. You had the tunnel vision.
Tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And probably a little ego too, like.
Yeah, you were the man.
Yeah,
you
ain't got to go see nobody.
Yeah, you were on top of the
mountain. I got
mountain.
everything I need right here.
Yeah. And that comes, right, they say that power corrupts, but I think you said it. When you have all the resources, you need no one and nothing.
Right.
You know, you don't. They're not offering you anything that you can't get yourself.
Right.
And that makes you powerful. And it does feed that ego, right? And you said it. The authorities knew your psychology and they used your psychology against you.
Absolutely.
So Blandon comes, and from my understanding, he's setting it up with.
No, it was set up from the start. When he called me the first time, he told me he had 700 kilos of cocaine. So they already knew that if they'd have called me saying they had 1 kilo of cocaine, I wouldn't have been interested.
700 kilos. What's the street value at that time of 700 keys?
At that time, I think kilos were going for about 18 a piece.
So is that 150? Is that
Each kilo, 700 would have been probably right around 1.4 million.
Yeah.
Is about what it was worth.
Wow.
At that time.
That's a lot of money. You know, just getting out of prison. Did that motivate you to, you know what I mean? He was like, all right.
This went on for 6 months.
Okay.
They dangling that carrot in front of me for 6 months. I think that it's wrong to dangle a carrot in front of a dope fiend.
It's very wrong. What they say in AA, you know what I mean?
If you got somebody, they on crystal meth and they trying to get off, or even if they just say they're trying to get off.
Right.
And your job as the authority is to help them get off.
Keep them away from it.
To keep them away from it.
Yeah.
But now, not only do you not keep them away from it, but you start to dangle it in front of it. You know, like, you want this? You want this? You can have it. You can have it. Yeah. And at the same time, I was going through it with my theater.
Right.
Trying to save it. You know, I bought the theater for $1.2 million. I put $900,000 down, and I got arrested right after I put the money down. I got arrested, so I never paid it off. But the guy had agreed that I could pay him $6,000 a month until
you pay the rest off.
Well, after I got arrested, my whole thing went into a tailspin. You know, people stopped talking to me. People wouldn't take my calls. It's like your friends flee. They
get away from you. You toxic.
And I understand.
Yeah,
I understand.
Yeah.
You know, at first I didn't. I was a little angry.
Yeah.
You know, like, damn, these motherfuckers ain't talking to me. All I did for them, and this how they treat me.
Yeah.
But they were afraid that I might tell on them.
Yeah. I mean, they say that everybody eventually tells. Everybody eventually snitches. I mean, there are people of your pedigree. You know, there's a couple others that, you know, they do their time because it's, you know, it was your business, right? I mean,
well, you accept responsibility for
accountability, right?
What you done, you know, when you are having the fun, you're not crying.
Yeah.
So don't start crying when they put handcuffs on you.
It's part of the game.
Part of the game. Accept your fate.
Yeah.
And I understood that.
Yeah. That's what's up, man. I mean, so you go through that situation and that leads you to your life conviction. So everything is set up. He set you up.
He's recording all our conversations. When he called me the first time and he said that he got the 100.
They're documenting it.
They document all of it. Even though they don't play all the tapes, because some of the tapes, you know, because I was hesitant at first. Like, oh, man, you know, I just got out. I don't want to be messing with no cocaine right now.
Right. You don't want to go back.
I'm finna do the music thing, you know.
Yeah.
I had saw what Suge and Harry-O did, because I was cellies with Harry-O when they started Death Row.
Wow.
I was there when they first met. The first day Harry-O and Suge met, I was right there. I was in the turning room with Harry-O when he told David Kenner that he was going to teach him how to make way more money in the music business than he made as a lawyer.
Wow.
I was sitting right there when Harry told him.
Wow.
And so when I saw Death Row, I was like, oh, I can do that. If Harry-O can do it, I can do it. And, you know, I started with the music business. I found the Alcoholics right after that. Right after that, I found the Alcoholics.
Yeah.
They slipped through my hands. I let them slip through. But we stayed friends. You know, we stayed working together. We kept a relationship. I mean, when I was in jail, I was getting shots, what they call disciplinary. We call them shots. for conducting business inside of the prison.
You getting in trouble for
I was
conducting
literally
business.
hooking people up, directors up with artists to shoot videos, and producers up with artists to make music. And I got in trouble for doing that.
Yeah.
You know, I felt that if we're in prison and we're supposed to be rehabilitating,
Why you stopping me from
why
rehabilitating?
you gonna stop me from I ain't never did music before.
Yeah.
I need to be doing music because
Yeah.
I love selling cocaine. I got a problem with selling cocaine. Now see, some people they just might like, oh, I sell cocaine to get a car.
Right.
I'm gonna get these Air Jordans,
Yeah.
and I started off like that.
Yeah.
Remember, I wanted
That was
to
that $50. You wanted the
I want
rims.
the rims
you
for
wanted,
my car
and the paint. Yeah.
but I fell in love
yeah. Yeah.
where I was willing to die for it or kill for it.
Do you think because you found something that you were exceptional at, and you and it
Absolutely.
yeah,
Everybody wants to be exceptional.
everybody wants to be exceptional
at something.
Man, that's that Be Greater moment. Your Be Greater moment was Superfly. That was that spark, that I call it the blue flame. You knew there was something about that you could build a way for yourself. So I think it's well documented that you entered that second term, a life sentence. You get convicted. You entered jail. You were functioning illiterate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I found something very powerful in your story, and I was telling some people, your greatest moment in your life, from the outside looking in, was you taking accountability and teaching yourself and learning how to read.
Oh, absolutely.
Can you expand on that?
Reading probably hurt me more so than anything, not being able to read, because I was always a hard worker. I used to volunteer every summer to go back to Texas and work with my uncles, and they did excruciating work. Haul hay in 114-degree heat, no trees, all you in the sun all day and my uncles would work from sun up to sundown, going in puckwood fields, hauling wood, where you're getting bit by scorpions, snakes, mosquitoes. You go deep in the woods in Texas, they got so many mosquitoes, boy, they'll eat you up.
Yeah. Everything bigger in Texas.
Hey, them mosquitoes run the bear out the woods. But not my uncles. My uncles wasn't gonna leave.
Yeah.
They wasn't gonna leave.
And you got that same work ethic.
Well, I volunteered to go work with them every summer. Every summer, I begged my mom to let me go to Texas to work with my uncles. And when you take that mentality and you implement it into something that's not that hard, like cocaine is so easy. All you got to do is hold it in your pocket and not use it.
Yeah.
And you're going to make some money.
Yeah.
So when it came, I was like, oh, this is too easy. This ain't like chasing no tennis balls, being on the tennis court for 2.5 hours in the hot sun.
Right.
This guy over here trying to kill you with the ball. He's trying to run you from corner to corner.
Yeah.
I could sit up under a shade tree and sip on some Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
You eat some watermelon.
Yeah.
The girls can come by and see me if they want to.
Yeah.
And I got some money in my pocket. Oh no, this is it for me.
This is it for me.
I'm in love.
So there was a moment in prison that you're going through your case, and you realize that the government set you up. And
no, I realized they set me up from the beginning.
From the beginning, you knew they set you up, but now you know the
I saw
language.
where they messed up at.
How did you? I don't want to say exploit it, because you did. I mean, you didn't exploit it. You revealed it, and you're a rare man. You're kingpin, and you're still alive. You go to prison. We know that they say it's dead or prison. You end up going to prison. That's the statistics, right? We're sitting here having a conversation. You've done numerous shows through over the years since you've been released. That's rare air. That doesn't happen.
Oh, no question. For me to be here, I should be under the prison. Much drugs as I sold.
So, literacy and this is for you young folks that are listening. This is for, I think without knowing the exact statistic, in the United States, I think we have something like, 40+% of functional illiterates. They're on jobs, they're in school, they're conducting
65% of the guys in prison can't read.
Yeah.
And then there's another percent that can read but don't understand what they
functioning illiterate.
Yeah.
And so you get your freedom through reading. I mean, that's so deep. That goes back to some ancestral, connections where freedom was in our literacy then. Learning to read then set so many free. So you get your prison sentence reduced to 20 years. You do 20 years in prison. Your intestinal fortitude, through this conversation, I think we've revealed your thinking, your mastermind.
No, but I went deeper than that though.
Come on.
So now I know how to read.
Yeah.
And not read, but read really well.
Yeah.
Because I started attacking reading the same way I attacked the drug business.
Talk about it.
What I learned is that I thought my way into prison.
Okay.
I earned my way into prison. I found out that just anybody can't go. Like if you went up right now today and you knocked on a federal prison and you said, man, I want to come in.
They're not going to let you in.
Get the hell out of here. You got to earn your way into that.
Right.
So what I found out is that I earned my way to prison.
Okay.
And then I said, I can earn my way out. Because when you have a vision, when I used to be laying in the bed with my girls and I would ask them, are you going to run for me when I go to prison? So I had visually saw myself going to prison. So then I realized that I could visually see my way out of prison, and
wow,
that's what I started to do, see myself out. So once you see it, once you see yourself and you believe that you can have it, then your mind is going to start working to get that you need
Universal
to accomplish the goals that you're trying to accomplish. And that's how I'm able to do all the things that I'm doing right now. I don't know if you had a chance to read my obituary.
No.
Yeah, LA Magazine wrote my obituary.
No, I'm gonna look that up, and we'll talk about that on. We're gonna do part 2. You join me again, and we'll.
But once you read my obituary, we'll do it again because it's a great story. One of the greatest stories that was written about me. Jesse Katz from LA Times wrote it. He wrote it for LA Magazine.
I'm familiar with Jesse Katz. Yeah, and
he starts the story off by LA's most famous drug man is doing life. I was writing his obituary. And then he talks about what kind of day it was.
Yeah.
And then he goes into my deliriousness. He says that I'm delirious.
Okay.
Here this guy is. I'm writing his obituary, but he's delirious. He's not accepting the fact
that he's dead.
He's talking about doing boxing.
Come on. Wow.
And by the way, I got a fighter that's going to be better than Floyd.
Okay.
Mayweather. He's going to make more money than Floyd.
Okay.
Maybe twice as much as Floyd.
Okay.
His record is going to be better than Floyd. We're going to get 51 wins.
Okay.
Instead of 50.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm
He's
sold.
20 years old. Check him out.
I am.
Not Fear Charles out of Philadelphia.
Oh, you're a Philly fighter.
I get a call one day because I got a couple fighters, but most of my fighters they can't really fight.
Yeah.
I'm really helping.
A diamond in the rough.
I'm helping guys who really need help bad. They can't get with nobody else, so they came and got with me. But this kid could have went with anybody in the business.
Yeah.
He has the resume to where. Al Heyman, Bob Aaron, Eddie Hearns, all the big shots would have taken him on as a client, but he rode with me. So, but in this article, I'm talking about, I'm gonna do a book. I'm gonna do a documentary. This is before my documentary was on Netflix.
Check. Just check. Let's check them off. You're a published author.
Yeah, twice.
Three times
because I got the novel too.
Okay, so 3 times over. You've done the documentary.
Documentary number 1 on Netflix for a year and a half.
So
front page.
Here's the thing.
The movie.
The
only part of the whole thing that ain't done, but
it'll be done.
I was talking to Reginald Hudlin the other day, and now we're debating, should we do 1 movie, 2 movies, or 3 movies all at the same time?
Look, This is essentially you could do the Wire LA version of the Wire.
That's the
with-
TV series. We're gonna do the TV series too.
Come on, man.
We're gonna do the TV series too.
So we're talking about the evolution now. You're out. We covered some of those things. Right now, you know, what are you involved in? We talked about the boxing. We talked about the TV. We talked about the movies. You mentioned your marijuana business.
Yeah.
Let's close with talking about that.
Well, my first brand I started about a year ago called LA Kingpin.
Okay.
So LA Kingpin has been doing pretty good.
Okay.
We start off with a vape pen. I got with somebody else and I used their license.
Okay.
Because I didn't have my license then. I hadn't hit the lottery at that time.
Okay.
I hit the lottery in November when I won my license.
Yeah.
So I was using their license and I started off and I just kept learning the business. The next thing I know, I'm at this company called the Cure Company.
Okay.
The same company that has the Marathon OG for that does Nipsey's brand.
Okay.
And when I get there, I'm like, wow, it blows me away, you know, to see somebody so big. You
Yeah.
know? This company probably makes like $30-40 million a year.
Wow.
So eventually we were able to cut a deal and we put out my new product, Freeway.
Okay.
We put it out 2.5-3 weeks ago.
Okay. Where can they find it?
We sell out the same day.
Damn. Where can they, like, if they can find it?
There are gonna be a few stores that have it. I think this week we're gonna stock the stores up again. But they can go on my website and I'll post all the stores that carry it because there's only a few stores that carry my product right now. I'm not in every store in California.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
But that's how we started out. And the Cure Company is probably the biggest indoor grower probably in the world. And his flower is some of the best flower in the world. So to have a partner like that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
So when I started that way, and then I started thinking again, and I was like, wow, what can you do to really like blow this thing up? Mm-hmm. So now what I'm doing is I'm helping other people start their brand now. Because I got the format so down,
Yeah.
and I'm so good with it that now I'm starting to help artists, boxers, whoever that's interested in getting their own brand, getting licensed. I can help them do that now.
It's give us your social media tags, handles, all that good stuff.
Well, they hacked my Twitter page and they hacked my Facebook page, so I only got Instagram right now.
All right, what's that? What's that IG, man?
Freeway Rick. You can get the book too at my website, freewayrickyross.com. Mm-hmm. And please go to my website and buy the book. Don't go to Amazon.
Okay. Support the man.
Because I won't autograph it if you bought it from Amazon.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? They don't pay me enough. Jeff Bezos too tight, huh?
He tight with it.
Loosen up, Jeff.
Yeah, what's your website? Tell us your website.
freewayrickyross.com.
freewayrickyross.com. And don't get it twisted. This is the real
Not
Freeway.
the rapper.
This is the real.
You know, my T-shirt say, the real Rick Ross is not a rapper.
It's not a rapper.
So if he rap, he ain't Rick Ross.
And we're going to speak on that the next time we have you on the show. Rick, thank you so much for joining me on the Be Greater Moment. You've revealed so much power in your thinking that I think those that listen to this episode are going to be inspired in their own thinking. Thank you so much for joining us today. This has been the Be Greater Moment.
Thank you.
Let's talk about it. Talk about it. You can be greater.
Yeah, have you been thinking? How you been feeling? Have you been searching? Have you decided that you